2. For the filling, you'll need 350 grams, 12 ounces, of ripe plums, stoned and quartered, 120 ml, 4 fluid ounces of fresh orange juice, or you could use water, 1 tablespoon of brown sugar, and half a teaspoon of ground cinnamon. For the crumble topping, you'll need 100 grams, 4 ounces of plain flour, 50 grams, 2 ounces of butter, cubed, 50 grams, 2 ounces of sugar, and 50 grams, 2 ounces of chopped walnuts. Before you do anything else, you'll need to preheat your oven to 200 centigrade, 400 Fahrenheit, that's gas mark 6. And whilst that's preheating, you can start to prepare the filling and the topping. Now, before I start cooking my filling, I just wanted to show you an easy way to stone a plum. When you look at a soft fruit, there'll be a natural line coming from the stem part. And if you just cut that line all the way round, and then give a twist. Then you pull the two halves apart and you can remove the stone which is stuck in the second half. There. That's got to be the easiest way to stone a soft fruit. So, I'll just cut these two pieces so that I've got quarters and place them in my pan. And then to the fruit, I'm going to add the orange juice, the sugar, and the cinnamon. Now when it comes to the sugar, I'm using 1 tablespoon because my fruit is actually quite sweet already. But it really will depend on how ripe and sweet your fruit are. So you may have to add another tablespoon or so of sugar. Also, when it comes to the cinnamon, you could use a cinnamon stick or half a cinnamon stick for this sort of quantity. Anyway, you need to set that over a relatively high heat, stir it all up, and then once it's come to simmering point, reduce the heat a little and just cook it uncovered for about 5 minutes. And during that time you can get on with your crumble topping. Place your flour in a large mixing bowl and add the butter. Now the reason I've cubed the butter is just because it makes rubbing it into the flour a lot easier. Also, if it's slightly soft, it's easier too. Unlike pastry, you don't need to keep all the ingredients cold. And you rub the butter into the flour using your fingertips until it resembles breadcrumbs. Do use butter rather than margarine, because it does play an intrinsic part of this dish. So you want the best flavour you can possibly get. You could use margarine, but butter is much, much nicer. So once it resembles finish breadcrumbs, it'll take about 2 minutes to do this. Add your sugar and the walnuts and just stir that in. You can use a knife or your fingers, it doesn't really matter. Now when it comes to the sugar, you can use any type of sugar, including caster sugar, granulated sugar, white, brown. It'll just give a slightly different flavour if you use brown. And when you're chopping the nuts, don't chop them all too finely, because the nice thing about this recipe is that the coarser pieces of nuts give it extra texture. which goes very well with the very soft plums that we'll be using. So mix that all up, and once that's done, you're ready to assemble the dish. Take a 500ml, that's 16 fluid ounce dish. I'm actually using one that's about 3 inches, 7.5 centimetres deep. Transfer the plum mixture to the dish, and there will be quite a lot of juice, and you want that so that the end dessert, once it's cooked, will be nice and juicy, with the crumble topping being quite crisp. Take your crumble topping and just place about half of it over the top, a little more than half. Spread it out evenly, and just a little tip. If you take a spoon and just press it down gently so that you form a sort of crust, and then place the rest of the mixture on top of that. And the reason is that when you come to cut it, when you're serving it, it'll be a lot easier to portion up. Spread the crumble evenly on the top, the remaining crumble. And there we have it. Pop in the oven for about 25 minutes until golden brown. Walnut plum crumble. Serve with lashings of cream or hot custard.